Hey everybody, I'm Erik, and this is Tom and Alden, and we all work here at Valve on Steam. And a lot of times we'll spend time talking to developers all over the world. Usually we're flying around or talking to people. Lately, we've been spending a lot more time on internet calls and talking to people on the phone. But we're answering questions from developers, and some of the questions that we get most frequently are about early access and just does early access make sense for my game, and what even is early access, and should I be looking into this? And a lot of times, we'll flip that question back on the developer and ask them some questions about their game and what they're hoping to get out of early access, and that can help them to better understand what the tool is and how best to approach it. So Tom, I know that you've answered this question hundreds of times. What do you talk to a developer about when they're thinking about early access?
Yeah, I think it's kind of helpful to do like the mini history lesson of like, why does early access even exist? We first introduced early access on the store in 2013, and it kind of came out of developers asking us for like, hey, I don't really want to be in closed beta. I'm not really ready for a release. Like, I want feedback and input from players. I'm ready to sell my game. Like, I want commerce. But I'm not like, how do I tell them that I'm still working on this and I need feedback? And so early access provided a structure for that. And it really came out of that developer request of, I want to build my game alongside my community. And that usually helps people figure out, oh, like this might be right for my game. Framing it that way of just thinking, do you want to be working on this game alongside your users? Are you actively looking for feedback? Do you need information from them? And that'll often help.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider is the kind of game that you're making and whether it lends itself to really being involved with the community and getting that feedback and being in a position where you can iterate with that feedback and input. So the games that we've seen do really well tend to be ones where you as a game developer can expose part of the game or some core mechanics of the game, have a bunch of players play it, interact with it, and then give you actionable feedback on whether that feels balanced. Do these characters feel overpowered? Is this part of the game unfun? Things like that, that where you can then iterate on it, improve it. A lot of those work best when there's some form of replayability and people want to keep coming back and testing it again after you've made some changes. So those are games that lend themselves really well to early access. Comparatively, things like short form linear narrative stories might be much harder to get value out of the early access process. Just by the time people have played through part of your story or played through your story in an incomplete version, they may not be that interested in coming back and doing it again after you make improvements. And you as a developer may not be in a good position to take feedback and make huge changes to your game based on community reaction.
And I would say that that feedback is the key ingredient to what early access really is. And a lot of times, the customers who are most interested in buying an early access game are those that are really energized by the idea of playing a game, finding bugs, playing around with new game mechanics, giving feedback to the developer, and giving their voice to the game, and ultimately helping them to shape it. And so, as a developer, you should be ready to accept that type of feedback by putting an early access game out there, and understand that that's probably a lot of the feedback that you're going to get. When I talk to developers about early access, a lot of times I'll just explain that it's really ultimately you have to think about Steamworks as a toolbox and a whole array of different tools for different situations. And early access is just one tool in that toolbox. Just the like Steam inventory service is, or cloud saves, or any of the other awesome Steamwork features that are out there. They were all designed to address a specific problem that developers are facing, or to make their lives easier, or to help them accomplish something with their game that wouldn't otherwise be possible. And early access is just another one of those tools that can be really helpful.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point because a lot of times there's sort of a hidden question when devs are asking, should I do early access? Which is like, does Valve want me to do early access? Will I get better marketing coverage or worse marketing coverage? Is there some special hidden benefit? And like all the features in Steamworks, it's really about what's best for your game and what's best for your customers. We don't have some special program where we hide early access games or we do special promotion for them. You're not eligible or ineligible for special things, based on doing early access. So we kind of want you to focus on, is this the right way for me to develop my game? Does this model make sense for my community? Instead of worrying like, what does Valve want me to do?
Yeah, I mean, one of the other related concerns that we hear from game developers is how do players view early access? Does it have a bad rap? Does, is there going to be a downside to me using early access in that way? And the thing that I point to that I think is a really good reassurance of the model of development, assuming that it's right for your game, is that if we started recently, or maybe about a year ago, publishing monthly lists of the top new releases on Steam, by revenue. And those lists, often half of those lists contain games that are coming in or going out of early access. So I think that's a really good signal that a lot of games are choosing to use this model, and it's working really well for them, and helping them achieve, their goals as game developers.
Well, hopefully this is giving you some good information on what early access is and how we think about early access, and also maybe dispelled a few rumors and helped you to make a decision about whether early access is right for you. There's so much more information online in our documentation and in some YouTube videos that we've released in previous years. So feel free to check those out if you want some more information. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.